Today, I'd like to present you with the art of magic and spellcasting, and I'm subtitling the show. It's not what you think. And the reason why I'm saying it like that is because of my personal experiences with the art of magic and spellcasting. Let me tell you just briefly about myself and my experiences with it, and then I'll tell you a little bit about why I thought this would be a great show to have on the radio as well as a class to offer the general public. I've been I don't know if you want to call it lucky or unlucky enough to been trained in several disciplines, everything from Wicca to the Golden Dawn to Thelemite to OTO to high magic, natural magic, shamanistic, indigenous magic. I've been very very happy to learn all of these different types of paths or whatnot. Disciplines actually would be a great way to say it. And over the years, I found that, especially as a young person, we make all the mistakes. And I'm old enough now that I can look back and see all the mistakes that I made and the different paths that I took and whatnot. And, what paths work for me and what doesn't work for me as well. You have to understand I had my spiritual awakening in my early 20s, which is what led me down these paths. But I'll say I had my global light worker, geopolitical truther awakening early in the 2000s, like 2004, whatever it was, 2005. And the combination of those really changed. Actually, I will say I lost my faith for a while there. I literally lost my faith for a while. I lost my faith in magic. I lost my faith in what some people call witchcraft or whatever you want to call it, spirituality, alternative religion, alternative spirituality. I lost my faith in a lot of it, especially after learning what I learned about, the Freemasons and the 9/11 Truth Movement and all of these things. Uh, I ended up with that what they call that satanic panic also, which a lot of right winger, fear mongers like to do. Oh, it's Luciferian, it's the end of the world, they're all evil, it's all evil. Well, it's not. And we'll get into that in just a second. Um, so that was my experience with it. And I continue, today I continue to practice, I continue to teach, I continue to do events and whatnot surrounding these types of things. And I write about it a lot and do videos on it. But it's funny, when I first started to talk about this, I had two camps after me. The ones who said that, the average person shouldn't have this information. I got attacked by magicians and, witches and went, no, you can't talk about this. It's a secret. It's a secret. And then I had the other people, the satanic panic crazy right-wing truther people saying you're evil, it's you're a Satanist and la 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 la. So here I am, like, trying to grasp my head around this huge concept. I mean, of really hard work, study, practice. I don't know if anyone has ever gone through initiations or studied any of these books. They're not easy. It's not easy work to do. We're not talking about Llewellyn Scott Cunningham, solitary practitioner. I'm talking about, gematria and mathematics and algebra and all these things that come along with it. It's a lot of work, and to want to throw all that away was very difficult for me, and just say, the hell with it. I literally gave away my entire library back in the early 2000s, the mid 2000s. I gave away hundreds and hundreds of books on the subject. I kind of regret that now, but I had to do it for my own life purpose. But so that's where I'm coming from. I'm presenting today's talk and today's consciousness class with that through my eyes, through my experience, what I've seen, what I like, what I don't like, and what I've come to find useful and practical in today's modern world. Let me be very clear. I don't look at this as superstition. I look at this from a very, how do I say, intuitive science is a good word, or an alchemical way of looking at it. Um, and let me just put this precursor out there that I guess the best place to start is where I came out on the other end. And that was nature. I left the idea of invoking anything. I don't even invoke an elemental anymore. I don't invoke gods or goddesses. I don't align with any particular deity. For those of you that have studied Kabbalah or Golden Dawn or even Freemasonry or anything like that, it's all about Jehovah and this crazy, jealous God that, sends plagues on the planet. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this guy. You know, he sounds like a psychopath, like the people who are running the world. I don't want to be around that biblical God. He's nuts. And yeah, think about it. He's a crazy God. I'm sorry. I don't want to invoke that energy. I am someone who became very comfortable with natural forces, nature, understanding the cycles of nature, aligning with the energy of the planet, aligning with the energy of the stars, aligning with the energy of the creative force that has no name, the unnameable source of all creation. You want to call it God? That's fine. But to me, that God is not that crazy God that's in the Bible. So that's where I came out on the other end. So my magic, my spell casting is not, you're not going to hear about invoking demons or gods or spirits or angels or any superstitious nonsense as far as I'm concerned. I'm probably the most atheistic magical practitioner that you're going to ever know. I don't believe in dogma. I don't believe in religion. I feel a lot of it is nonsense, and myth and religion are supposed to be symbols to awaken our consciousness, not to be taken literally. So that's where I'm coming from with this today. Now, the art of magic and spell casting. Why would anyone bother? Why would someone want to do a magic spell? Why would someone want to do a magical ritual? Why would, what's the purpose behind it? Well, again, let me do a little precursor. We're not going to be talking about putting spells on people. I'm not going to be, so sorry if you want to do a love spell for that hot guy you're in love with. You're not going to learn that here. You want to curse somebody you're mad at. You're not going to learn that here. To me, that has no room in my psyche. I don't have any place for that. And I firmly believe in karma. And, what you put out there is what you're going to get back. So I'm very, very careful when and if I even decide to do a type of spell or a magical ritual or something like that. I have to feel very comfortable with the outcome. Even the negative repercussions that might happen have to be acceptable to me and harm none or as little as possible. So why would someone want to focus this energy? Why would someone want to focus creating a spell or doing some type of magical ritual? Well, there's a lot of very, very positive reasons to do it. One of the main reasons that I do it for, and you see it a lot in my work and whatnot. I may not call it a spell, I may not call it magic, but that's what it comes down to. Is practices that create self-empowerment, magic and spells or intentions. The new word now is intention. We'll get into that a little bit later. The politically correct word nowadays is called the intention process or the law of attraction. It's a spell. All right, it's a spell. But the idea of doing magic can be done for self-empowerment, to awaken your consciousness, to become more aligned with your higher self. I've talked about the higher self a lot over the last decade, however long I've been doing this almost now. So please refer to one of those videos. What is the higher self? Why do you want to align with the higher self? Many people have talked about it. I'm sure those listening today know a little bit about what the higher self is. But magic and spells can be used to align with your higher self. It can help you to open your third eye. It can help you to expand your consciousness. Magic and spell casting also helps with altering your state of consciousness at will. You must eventually learn how to alter your state of consciousness at will if you are very dedicated to this type of work, and if you are dedicated to this path. Learning not to be reactive is a great spell. I would like to do a spell where I'm not so emotionally reactive when things piss me off. Great reason. Self-empowerment, self-improvement. We hear about, people doing spells for diet or, better memory, things like that. Absolutely. They can be used for self-improvement and self-empowerment. The other one, besides self and improving the self and empowering the self, is improving and empowering the planet. And I'll say this near the beginning because I feel that most of what I talk about today can be applied. And this is the reason why I want to make this as public as possible. This is the reason why I want to teach you the basics and the fundamentals to as many people as possible because you know and I know our planet is run by psychopaths. You know and I know that many, if not a majority of them, are involved in black magic and dark workings. Wouldn't it be amazing if that 1% that is doing this to us had the other 99% doing the white, positive opposite of what they're doing? Think about it. And I laugh at people that are like, oh, the Bible said I can't do magic. Well, you know why the Bible said you can't do magic? Because they don't want you to have this understanding. They want to make you subservient, sheeple, weak, unempowered, with no, no possibility of moving on, moving forward. This is the other reason why. Global empowerment, global improvement, elevating the global consciousness, elevating the global situation. I would say, and if you ask anyone who does this work with me, 90% of the magical rituals or spells that I do are to elevate human consciousness, to free human consciousness, to heal humanity. Rarely is it ever a personal thing. Now, my intentions, that's another thing. But as far as the whole magical ritual, it's usually to elevate humanity, to give us that clarity, that insight, that freedom to be what we can be instead of being oppressed. Oppressed by media, oppressed by economy, oppressed by false fear-based religions. I can go on and on. Another reason why someone would want to do magic or spells is for healing. We talk, you'll understand more as soon as I get more into the definition of what magic is, but we talk a lot about healing when we're talking about doing magic and spells. You can find volumes and volumes and volumes of different types of healing spells, different types of healing magic that is out there. I'm not going to go into it yet, so I'm just going to leave you with that. And another reason, again, for the self. Why would someone do magic or spells? Well, sometimes we are ready to change our life. Sometimes we're ready for a change. Sometimes we are ready to attract a new partner. And I'm saying attract a new partner, not make someone fall in love with you. There's a big difference between a passive spell and passive magic versus, oppressing someone's will. I don't believe in that. And if you do that, I got a problem with it, and you're not welcome in my world. I'm sorry. I do not believe in imposing my will on other people, magically and or otherwise. But I do believe that we have the right, as human beings, to perhaps use magical energies, magical spells to make ourselves more attractive to other people. Maybe a glamour-on spell or, something to raise your vibration a little bit so you twinkle a little more, you get a little more attention. There's nothing wrong with that. A spell to attract money, prosperity. People do it all the time. We've been doing it now for, let's see, politically correctly for over a decade now with The Secret when that came out. The law of attraction. Let's attract prosperity into our lives. You can do it. You can do a spell to attract a new job. Open yourself up to a new job. And again, there are things that must fall into place before any of these things happen. But right now, I'm just sharing why you would want to do magic. Why would you want to do a spell? What would I like to do? I would like a new job. I'm ready for a new girlfriend. I'm ready for a new boyfriend. I'm ready for new friends. I'm ready for a new job. I'm ready for a new home. Whatever it may be. But we'll get into the details of that a little bit more in just a little while. Um, I'm going to start talking about what magic is, and please forgive me, we're probably going to have a break in the middle of it, but let's talk a little bit about what is magic. And for me, it's many different things, and I'm going to try to cover a little bit of how shall I say an overview of the different perceptions of what magic is. Now, for me, magic is everywhere. Magic is life. Magic is energy. Magic is the trees growing. Magic is the sun shining. Magic is chi, ki. It's the life force. Magic happens all day, every day. When you see it and you align with it and you have the awareness of it, it's always there. It's always there. Magic is your intuition. Magic is the completion of a project. Now, there are many, many definitions. I'm just giving you my overview of what magic is, but there are other sub definitions that we want to look at as well. Um, but let's just start with the fact that magic is everywhere. Magic is energy. Magic is the creative force. Magic is also the destructive force. But magic, whether it is creative or destructive on its own, magic on its own is neutral. So all of this fearful thing that, oh, you do magic, you're working with the devil, or all this fear of something bad's going to happen to you, it wouldn't be because of magic. It would be because of you. Magic on its own is a neutral force. It is up to the practitioner as to where and how it is directed and what will be the repercussions thereof. So this whole idea of white, black, and gray magic, we're going to get into that right now, but magic itself is neutral. It's life force, it's destructive force. It is the natural force behind everything that happens on our planet. It's just a matter of us tapping into that and sending our will in a particular direction for a specific outcome. Again, it's up to the practitioner. Is it going to be good, bad, in between? Magic is in the earth. We see it in magical places, in ley lines, in sacred places where, have you ever been somewhere where you just start feeling better? Have you ever gone to the top of a mountain and your whole consciousness just changes? We've heard of, monuments. We've heard of separate, people walking into pyramids and just having this like third eye awakening. We hear about the singing rocks over, where is it? I think it's like in Arkansas or somewhere. I forgot. There are sacred places all over the world, as well as the idea that energy is stronger in certain areas around the planet than it is in others. I don't want to call it negative, but a more popular one is the Bermuda Triangle. There's something going on there. We don't know exactly what it is, but there's magic going on there. Is it a vortex? Is it, is there a portal there or something? Is there an electromagnetic instability happening there? Something's going on there. It's a magical place. So there are naturally occurring magical places around the planet as well. We can look at, again, the ley lines. We can look at energy lines, dragon lines, all of these different currents of energy that are floating and flowing around our planet do create, a specific flux in the energetic field. And if you are sensitive to that, you're gonna notice that. So magic is naturally occurring. Now, back to what I was talking about with white magic, black magic, and gray magic. I'm just going to give you Aleister Crowley's definition. The world famous and misunderstood, whatever magician Crowley. He's either the devil incarnate or one of the wisest men in the world, and probably in reality he's somewhere in the middle. But he defined magic as, I don't know if he's the one who created it, but he made it more popular, the idea of white, black, and gray magic. Black magic is defined as by Crowley and his followers as having and directing focused energy conforming to your will to extend and do harm to another and or yourself. So doing harm to another through focused intention, focused thought, through your will to harm another or yourself. Now, this is one of the wonderful things that I loved about his definitions, because it opens up a whole new way of observing the world. If that is the definition of black magic, intentionally focusing your will to harm another or yourself, think about that definition and think about how many times a day you've done it. Well, today. How many times have you done it this past week? How many times have you just sat there and said, God, I wish that woman was dead. God, I wish that woman was dead. God, I wish that woman was dead. And there you go. You got black magic right there. Now, of course, you can do magical ritual to make it more elaborate. You can create a spell to make it more elaborate. But we're going to get into what the word spelling means. And you probably already know the answer. Spelling. The word is the power. Words have power. So if you're in your mind saying, God, I want to kill Obama, or I want to kill that bad guy, or I want to hurt my wife, or I want to hurt that lady that cut me off. All of those things that you're saying is black magic in itself. Just the uttering the words, just thinking the words, just using that mental energy of projecting it is powerful. So to say that nobody does black magic is null and void. I think it's again, these definitions have a great way of opening up to see how our mind works, to open up and see how the world works, open up and see how we interact with one another. It's not nice to do black magic. I don't want to do black magic. Do you want to be a black magician? I know you don't want to be a black magician, but yet when we are focusing harm upon another human being, we are doing black magic. The idea that our negative thoughts are not going to do anything, they do something. They do it to ourselves. We're only hurting ourselves, and eventually may end up hurting other people. So be aware. Remember, the definition is focusing with intent to harm yourself or another human being. Now, gray magic is a bit different. Gray magic is, I guess you could lump healing magic and something like that. Some forms of healing magic, I should say. Gray magic is using your will to focus your intent in order to do something positive for yourself or another human being. Again, that would probably be like, doing a job doing a spell or doing magic to attract a new job or something to that effect. Again, it's focusing your intent and your will in order to do something positive. Now, the only backlash in that, and we're going to talk about that after I finish that, is it may not be in your best interest to do good in that particular case. And we're going to get into that in just a second. And then lastly, and this is probably one of the only forms of magic that I practice myself, is white magic. And white magic is aligning, aligning your will, magic to align your will with that of creation, with that of life, with that of the universe. Crowley called it conversation with your holy guardian angel, to align with your higher self and live your life through that. one of the reasons, again, I don't do spells or I don't do magic very often is that I try to walk the talk of the white magician, to be in alignment with my higher self in order to allow life to happen and to understand and to see the shortcomings before they happen and get around them, and to, understand that everything happens for a reason, to learn from that. But it goes much more than the pedestrian, definition I'm giving you right now. It's a bit more metaphysical, and it's a little bit more convoluted than how I'm describing it now. But let us just say it is white magic does not incorporate you imposing your will on anything. It is you aligning your will with the highest good, and working with that, and walking that particular path. And that's kind of where we talked about in the beginning, that magic can be used for self-empowerment as well as global empowerment. Now, why would I say that, maybe it's not a good idea to do gray magic? Well, as a former gray magician, let me say that, again, sometimes things are unfolding as they should in order for us to get to a particular place in our life, in order for us to experience a certain experience, whether it be positive or negative. And when we impose our will, whether it be positively or negatively, there may be repercussions, or there are repercussions, not maybe, there are repercussions that may stifle our own spiritual growth, either harshly and or just evolution wise, and how far we are progressing on our own personal path. So for me, it has to be a very, how shall I say, it is a drastic measure when I decide that I'm going to do a magical ritual to, I don't know, end world hunger or something like that. I am very careful to always add, and those of you that have been to my classes, I always end with, for the highest good of everyone involved. In other words, I'm stepping out of the way. If it is for the benefit of myself or for the benefit of humanity, then it will be done. If this is something that is coming from my ego because I want my life to be easier, or I'm concerned about, losing a loved one or something like that, that's me imposing my will. That's you imposing your will. I speak to a lot of young practitioners, and they're like, oh, I need to do a spell to get a new boyfriend, or I need to do a spell to get a new house, or I want to do a spell to get rid of that neighbor or something like that. That you're coming from ego. You're coming from a very low vibratory place, and that is going to create problems. That is going to create that can open a whole new can of worms for you that you were not expecting, and put you into this downward spiral where your life is just going to go out of control. And I speak from experience. It is important to really get to know your will. And this is probably one of the most important parts of this particular talk of the art of magic and spellcasting. Our will has to be in alignment with the work that you're doing. What is he talking about? I am talking about understanding your will, understanding your place in the scheme of things, understanding the reason for you living the way that you do, understanding for you being here at this time on the planet. Why did you incarnate at this time? Understanding your soul, understanding your spirit, aligning with your soul and your spirit, creating that conversation and that awareness. I forgot who said it. I saw a wonderful interview with a gentleman who was talking about this, of knowing that as above, so below. What is it? And where is my place in that? So understanding your will, capital WILL, understanding your will before you do something to, I don't know, protect yourself from that crazy neighbor or get that new job. you have to understand that if you are going to do any type of magic, it has to be in alignment with your will, or it's just not going to happen. I hear it all the time from neophytes and people that are just beginning, fledgling practitioners. Oh, my spell didn't work. Well, that's because you didn't need it. You didn't need it, or you weren't aligned with your will when you did it. It has to be done from your will. This is not Charmed. Okay, this is not D&D. This is not Lord of the Rings. This is not, Hollywood magic. You're not going to shoot fire from your fingertips, and the gorgeous boyfriend is not going to appear before you. You're not going to live in that mansion tomorrow. Well, some people could, who knows? But it doesn't work that way. That's not the way the universe works. And you have to understand the way the universe works. You have to understand the will of your universe. Remember, this is all coming from within. So your will in alignment with the universe's will, and how is this going to play a role in it? If I do a spell or if I do a magical ritual to I don't know, let's say get $100,000. I hear that all the time, and it's in all the books. Oh, try the spell, get $100,000. And they never work. God knows I've tried them. Have you tried them? I've tried them. And they don't work. And people are like, well, I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing something wrong. We're doing something wrong because we're not understanding our will. We're not understanding how it all fits. It must come from the will, not the ego. There is the conundrum. Because usually people who will do lower forms of magic, like gray magic or, spells to hurt people or what, that's coming from a lower vibration. And I hate to say it, and this is just an observation. I'm glad, well, yeah, actually I did participate as a young man, that a lot of the darker stuff, the harmful magic, it works real easy. It does. You'll find, the left-hand path, they're getting their mansions and they're killing people left and right. Look at our government. Look at Wall Street. Look at the Rothschilds. Look at everyone that we talk about who is oppressing humanity, that is involved in the occult. All of their little dark spells are working because they're coming from a very low vibratory place. Yes, it's so much easier to be hateful. It's so much easier to curse people. It's so much easier to come from our ego and to be this low-life spiritual being. Of course it is. It is only people with integrity that I am speaking to. It is only people with integrity that I want to live around. It is only people with integrity that I want to share a planet with. So I am not going to promote that type of behavior. I'm not going to promote that type of magic. I find them weak. I find them to be cowardly. And the reason that type of magic works so easily is that whole situation of dealing with lower vibratory entities. Then that's one of the reasons. One reason is there are all types of, I don't want to say demons, I don't like that word, but let's just say tricksters. There's a lot of little tricksters and little, beings, whether they call them transdimensional, otherworldly, whatever, that want to keep the world in this low vibration and want to entrap you in a low vibration. And therefore, you're going to keep getting these simple little spells happening, and they're going to happen very quickly. And yes, that lady next door that you hate is going to get into a car accident. And yes, that job that you want to make, $100,000 a year working for Bank of America is going to happen. But the price that you're paying, and there is something to be said for that whole idea of selling your soul to the devil. I don't believe in the devil. I believe that there is low vibratory forces. I believe that there is egoic self-interest. I don't necessarily believe in Satan or the devil, but I will say there is something to be said for that whole idea of selling your soul to the devil, because what you get in return is an ugly world of self-centered people people that are getting hurt for no reason, and and just perpetuating the status quo that is happening around the planet right now. So do you want to be one of them? Do you, people hear the Global Illumination Council, they're like, oh, you're the Illuminati. I want to join the Illuminati. I'm like, well, you don't want to join my Illuminati because I don't like their Illuminati. You know, this Illuminati finds happiness and peace within ourselves, not externally. This Illuminati doesn't have any money, doesn't have fame, doesn't have influence. This Illuminati is about spiritual evolution, and why would we want to perpetuate that? Why do we want to perpetuate war and famine and greed and whatnot? So be very aware. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is be very aware. If you're going to do this stuff, make sure you're emotionally balanced. Make sure you understand how to align with your will. Do the practices that are involved, like meditation, understanding the self, comprehending, the good of all versus, just what's good for you. You have to come from a place of compassion. You must come from a place of empathy before you start working with this type of stuff. I feel that's very, very important. Anyway, I'm going on a little bit longer than I expected with this. So let's talk about spellcasting. What is the difference between magic and spellcasting? Well, as you've heard over the last half hour, the last 30 minutes or so, magic is literally just the energy. The spell is the actual application of the magic. So it's kind of like the internet is magic, but you plugging your computer into the internet would be the spell. So magic is just there. Magic is just there. It's the energy that's out there, and it's flowing. It's going its course all the time, every day. The spell is the actual, technical, the technical aspect of it. The practice of magic would be the spell, I guess. And I said it earlier. Why is it called spelling? And I know there's a meme going around, but I heard this 20 years ago, and it makes complete sense. I'm glad the meme is out there again. Words have power. When I was trained by my teacher, who was not a Wiccan, he was a pagan high priest, he said, your words have power. That's all you need are your words. And he's like, watch what you say. Every word is a spell. Every word is a spell. You are releasing energy. So a spell, again, looking at it from the application sense, is creating an intention. Creating that charm or whatnot. Another definition, again, from my particular teacher, and I'll say his name. He's passed on now. Rel Davis was my teacher back about 20 years ago. One of my teachers, and he used to say, a spell is nothing more than a prayer. Everyone who prays is doing a spell. And that definition or that saying, praying is asking for something. Praying is asking God for something. Meditation is listening to God. So again, spells are a lot easier than people think. We're doing it every day. We're doing it every day with our words, saying specific things to people. While black magic and gray magic is the energy in our thoughts, the words that we're saying, that we're releasing into the universe, are literally spells. And yes, you can get a little more fancy with it. You can write little charms or anything like that. But again, the spell casting itself is taking the time to focus your intention and to focus your energy on a particular outcome. So the actual act of spell casting is just putting magic into application. Magic, however, there is some confusion, I will say this, is that some people get very confused with the idea of magical ritual and a spell. They're pretty much the same. I will say this, as far as magical ritual is concerned and spelling is concerned, I firmly believe that if you are doing something with a group, I forgot who did the formula, but there is a formula of the resonance and the energy that is raised. Let's say you're doing a spell by yourself, or you're doing a magical ritual by yourself. It's 2 = 2 is the formula. But you bring in a third person, that 3 now equals 6. You bring in a fourth person, that 4 now equals, 8, and so on and so on and so on. I forgot the name of the formula. You can find it. Just look at it online, the magical energy formula. So I do believe that having a group focusing on one thing is definitely going to be a lot more powerful. I believe that if we have a group of people focusing on one particular outcome, that energy that is raised is definitely going to come about much quicker. An outcome will come about quicker. So magical ritual versus an individual spell might be a little bit more powerful. That's probably why we see so much people doing a global meditation for peace, or why magical groups work and numbers of 3 or more or whatnot. So there is that aspect of it involved as well. Um, Intention setting. This again, I talked a little bit about this earlier. I call this the politically correct, spell. This is a 21st century spell. Everyone in the New Age world or the spiritual world talks about, oh, I'm setting an intention, and I do intention circles a couple times a month for my Earth Spirit group that I teach here locally, and it's for that very reason, that we are a group of people sharing the intentions that we would like to manifest within our lives for the highest good of ourselves and those involved. But the thing I like about the term intention is that it's not absolute. And that's the reason why I call it the politically correct, spiritually politically correct terminology, is that there's nothing worse than being attached to an outcome. Again, that's another key in the art of magic and spell casting. If you are attached to a specific outcome, that's what you're going to be looking for. Let's say I want a job on, Fifth Avenue working for an advertising company, versus I want a job that I'm happy to go to every day. The moment you put and attach a specific outcome, the harder it is for that to manifest what your will is aligning with. Because you can think that you're going to be doing a spell to work on Fifth Avenue for a marketing company or whatever, which, by the way, I wouldn't recommend it. You'd be harming the world more than doing good. Just using it as an example, when you have that attachment, you're closing off what your will is really asking for, is a job that makes me happy. That's really the reason why you want to work on Fifth Avenue or whatever in the first place. You want a job that makes you happy. When you're doing the intention, you're intending, okay, I intended to go this way, but I will take what the universe and my higher self think is best for me. And it opens up a door of possibility. It opens up the opportunity for your will to act in accordance with your life. Or in other words, you will get what you're asking for, but in the best way possible for your growth and for everybody else that's involved. So let's try not to attach ourselves to specific outcomes. And I know that's a little bit of a contradiction in many ways, because a lot of people who do talk about this topic always say, oh, be very detailed. You better watch out what you ask for. If you're not too detailed, if you're not detailed enough, you're going to get, a mess of things. And I agree. You don't want to be under detailed, but you also don't want to be over detailed to the point where it is constrictive and not allowing the universe to work with your will. Again, remembering that we are working from the place of our will and how our will aligns with the intention that we are putting out there, with the spell that we're putting out there. Um, One of the many ways that people work with this, and there is a formula, and that's used in many different aspects of magical practice, and they call it the witch's pyramid. The witch's pyramid is to know, to will, to dare, and to be silent. And you can ask 5 different practitioners, and you will get 5 different definitions as to what this means. But I'll share with you my version of the witch's pyramid and what it means to me, and how you can utilize this to formulate your spell. And let me talk about spells and magic for a second here in another sense. I appreciate spell books. I appreciate books on magic and whatnot. I believe that they're very helpful for those that are seeking information. I believe that, spell books are very helpful for people that are, just starting out and seeing what works and what doesn't work. My concerns are that when you're reading someone else's spell, let's, you see it all the time. Buy a spell book for a love spell, or buy spell books for jobs or boyfriends, or, whatever it may be. The will of the person who wrote that spell is going to be linked to that particular spell. The entity and or deity and or spirit or whatever it is that they are working with may be energetically connected to that. I remember back in the day, back in my youth, reading it was a great book. I loved it. I forgot what the name of it was, but it's one of these, the ultimate guide to witches' spells or something like that. And I couldn't help but feel very dark with some of them. I was like, this is supposed to be a spell for health and wellness, and it feels very dark to me. And it turned out this woman was a practitioner of Santeria, and I'm not going to judge. I'm just saying it's not for me. I'm not into blood magic, and we're going to talk about the different types of magic in just a few minutes. But personally, for me, I was not into blood magic or sacrificing an animal or anything like that. And I wondered why these spells weren't working for me. So if you're one of these people that are interested in these types of books, I would prefer to suggest that we learn the basics and learn to write our own. Write your own spell. Use your will, your energy. Write your own formula. Yeah, learn the basics. Yeah, understand the principles and the foundation. But eventually, you're going to want to write your own. And that's where I love this formula, this thing they call the witch's pyramid. And again, everyone has their own definition of what everything means. But as a matter of fact, yesterday, as I was producing the show, I found a 5th level, which I hadn't heard before. And I'm not going to go into that today, because the common one is to know, to will, to dare, and to be silent. So if you are going to create your own spell, if you're going to be writing your own spell, use this as a little map of instruction for you to know. And what does to know mean? To know, for me, again, this is my definition, to know means knowing exactly what you want. What are you trying to get out of it? What would you be happy with? What is the reason behind it? Are you doing it because you're angry? Are you doing it because you're desperate? Are you doing it because you're afraid? Are you doing it to better yourself? Are you doing it to hurt yourself? What is the reason? Knowing exactly the why you're doing it, knowing exactly what it is that you're trying to manifest within your life, or in the life of the people that you love, is a very important aspect. So be very clear. Be very clear of what it is that you want Go ahead, make a little, take notes, write down, I'm unhappy with my job. So I would like to get a new job. What kind of job would I like? I would like a job where I'm appreciated. I would like a job where I can spend time with my family. I would like a job that pays the bills and leaves me a little bit left over to enjoy life. I would like a job that's close to home. I would like a job that has medical benefits. Whatever it is, go start writing down exactly what it is that you want. Go ahead and really, this is the point of uh, I would call it the visualization aspect, getting a clear picture of what you like. And I'll go into the intention process a little bit later because it's a little bit different for me than from actually writing a spell. An intention is kind of like off the cuff magic, I'll call it. But when it comes to the witch's pyramid, using the to know aspect to know exactly what you want, but also ask yourself the big picture. How does this fit into my life and my goals in my life? Is this a short term band aid? Am I trying to stroke my ego? What is the reason why I'm doing this? So the who, what, where, why, when, and we'll get into the how. The next aspect is will, and we covered this a little bit in the to know. To know, to will. Remember when I said that magic and spells have to come from the alignment with your will, have to come from a place that aligns with your will. So have a connection with your will, and the capital W will, the connection that is aligning with your higher self, that connection that aligns with your quote unquote holy guardian angel, that connection that connects you to source, that connection that connects you to God, to goddess, whatever it is. Your divine self is your will. So know that. Know how does this apply in relation to your will, your higher will, your capital W will. So to know, to will. Does your will it? Then to dare. And to dare is what I'm describing right now. To dare is to formulate the quote unquote spell. To dare is to take the action to do this. To dare means that you dare to create change in your life. To be daring, to move forward, to know that you have the ability to change your life is daring. To dare that you want a new job, to dare that you want a new lover, to dare that you want to align with your higher consciousness and become more insightful. So to dare is not, it's not supposed to be a scary thing. It's basically, you could call it to be courageous, to have the courage to do it, to take the action to do it. So you have, and the reason why this is a part of it is that if you are not ready for that change, if you are not ready for that spell, magic, intention to manifest, it's not going to manifest. You must have the courage and must be ready to allow those changes to come into your life. So that's why it's called to dare. You must be ready. You must be courageous enough to be there with, in alignment with what you're doing. And then lastly is to be silent. And this is a really hard one. It's not what you think. Everyone's like, oh, don't tell anybody, don't tell anybody. I mean, I wouldn't. The reality of it is that to be silent for me really means to just leave it alone. Leave it alone. And I know you're going to think about it, and we all do. We have to be careful not to add negative energy to it. Once you've released the energy, once you've done the the actual working, to not send negativity to it. And the reason why we say don't tell people about it unless they're a part of it is that you don't want them going, oh, you're crazy, oh, I can't believe you want to get a different job. Oh, that's wrong. You shouldn't leave that job. You've been there for 20 years. Negative Nellies. You don't want all that negativity thrown at you. So the reality of it is just, go ahead, be silent, do the work, be quiet, let it go. Um, and this, again, though, will open a whole nother can of worms. And what I mean by that is this has been going around in the intention community and the law of attraction community of why things don't work. Because once we know what we want, once we know, and we do the work, let's say we just did a spell, and again, I'm just going to use the new job. I'm tired of working at a factory. I'm going to do a new spell so I can go work at an office, or I'm going to open my own business, even better. Let's just say you're doing a spell to open your own business that you're happy at, and you haven't told anybody. You've done everything I just said, but in your mind, you're afraid. In your mind, you're not quite ready. In your mind, you're like, oh, well, what happens if I start my own business and I don't make enough money, or I get audited, or I fail, or all this stinking thinking, as they call it. That whole idea of releasing energy and then being weary of what you just created is an automatic, you're shutting off the flow. You automatically shut off the flow. And that is a very big problem. And that brings us way back to the second step, the to will, to align with your will. You have to be in alignment with your will. We can be as silent as we want to the public. We can be as silent as we want to our friends and our family about the workings that we just did, the white candle that we lit or whatever, to have this new job. But if we're thinking we're not going to get it, we're not going to get it. So again, it's to know, to will, or to know your will, to dare, to be courageous, and then to be silent. You're done. This is a great formula to use to create a spell. This is a great formula to create an outline for the spell that you want to create. And again, this is a little more convoluted. This is a little bit more, involved than the work that I do right now. But I feel that this is important for people to know these. Again, this is a foundation, and it's a great way and a great outline for you to formulate any type of new work that you do. Eventually, you will just be working with your will, and you'll be fine. But if you're new to this type of work, this is what you want to do. Learn the formula, learn the basics, and understand exactly what it is you're doing. These are the technical aspects of what's going on with your consciousness. Remember, this is all really about consciousness. When we do magical ritual or something like that, it is literally to alter our state of consciousness so we can direct our focus and intention in one particular way. That spell that you're writing, and we're going to get into how to do it. Maybe we can write a spell together. I don't know if we're going to have enough time on today's class here, but you can incorporate candles, you can incorporate crystals, you can incorporate words, you can incorporate the time of day, the moon phase, the season, and I'm talking about keeping it natural. Please, don't be invoking beings and all that weirdness. You don't need that. You're more powerful than any of these beings because all that energy is already within you. But so yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about some of the negative aspects of doing magic and spellcasting. I talked a little bit at the beginning about black magic. I talked a little bit about karma. And unfortunately, like I said, there are those who are coming from ego, that are coming from a lower vibration, and literally don't know how to tap into their infinite energy, their infinite divinity, their possibilities that are infinite and available to just by changing our focus. So there will be people that will use lower vibratory things like the Goetia or the Lesser Key of Solomon, or things where they're invoking transdimensional entity. Yes, Aleister Crowley used to do it. people that invoke gods and beings and whatnot. It's very, very dangerous. Let me just say this very, very quickly. You know, that we joke in the magical world, we joke, you know, don't invoke anything that you can't banish. But the reality of it is, the reality in my experience, I have been doing this now for 30 years, I guess. God, I'm dating myself. I would say almost 30 years. And the reality of it is, I have yet, and this includes studying Aleister Crowley, I have yet to meet someone who actually knows the behavior of these entities, who actually knows what these entities are capable of. It's all speculative. It's all theoretically, this entity is going to do this. Theoretically, I can banish them. But any of you that have studied Aleister Crowley or even are involved in this, you know, the truth movement of going back and looking at, you know, what happened with the occult and these sacred brotherhoods, Aleister Crowley invoked this demon slash transdimensional entity and couldn't banish him. And that's when his life fell apart, and supposedly that he opened the gates of hell or whatnot. He couldn't get rid. If Aleister Crowley cannot get rid of it, let's just say more than likely 99.9% of you listening to me can't get rid of it either. So this whole idea of using speculation and theory to invoke an entity to do your bidding is suicide, spiritual suicide. And let me tell you something, I have done it. And it cost me for years. I had what they call a Klingon, and it would not leave me, and it really messed up my life. I'm telling you now, don't do it. Don't do it. There is no way that through reading and studying and your ego, building up your ego, that you're going to be able to control this thing, that you will succeed. 9 times out of 10, and you can ask many people that have done this type of work, 9 times out of 10, they fail. 9 times out of 10, they fail. And then it's years to get rid of it. And our planet is still suffering from what Crowley did to it. Don't invoke. You want to study the Goetia, you want to study the Lesser Key of Solomon out of curiosity, go for it. You want to study the Necronomicon out of curiosity, go for it. Don't use it. You will not be able to do what you think you can. You're kidding yourself. You're absolutely kidding yourself. That is why I am all about teaching the foundations, teaching the formulations, how to formulate, and then you write your own. Because that way it's coming from your will, from your spirit, and you have the ability to shut it down. And your will have the ability to shut it down. Other negative aspects. There is a ton of Hollywood fake stuff going on out there. And I've got to tell you, it's probably one of the most frustrating things that I could hear when I speak to somebody. As frustrating as it is for people to say, I want to join the Illuminati and be rich and famous, that's very frustrating. To the people that approach me saying, I want to learn how to fly a broom, or, I want to learn how to, levitate, or, send fire through my fingers, or Hollywood. And the reason why I'm bringing it up at this particular part of the talk is I'm just covering some of the negative stuff that needs to be you need to be aware of. When you're dealing with this type of psychology of people, and again, I think it's very, very important that you are in a fairly emotionally balanced place in your life before you get involved in doing any type of work like this. When you're dealing with people who think that Charmed is real, or the Craft, or that movie, The Craft, that's another popular one, or Lord of the Rings or whatnot. When people are living in fantasy and they are approaching this through fantasy, a lot of harm can come to them psychologically and spiritually by working with this type of stuff. I believe that when we have a how shall I say, a fantasized version of this, it truly creates a huge possibility of just our ego shattering and feeling not worthy, and really becoming a little bit psychopathic to make it happen the way we expect it to happen. I've seen many people end up on lithium, from this type of work. Very few end up coming off medication. Very many go into taking medication. And I'm very lucky that I'm one of the few that got off medication because of it. As a teenager, I was on, antidepressants and whatnot. And through my practice, it got rid of my anxiety and depression and whatnot. But it doesn't happen to everybody. Most of the time, we're going to see people ending up on medication. We're going to see people addictions flaring. So we have to be very aware of the ego. And I think this is the point I'm trying to talk about here. In the negative sense, to be aware of ego, you must be able to face your ego. If you cannot face your ego in doing this, you will be sucked in to the easy way, into darker, lower vibratory aspects. I've met young people in my youth, involved in the magical realms, doing very dark stuff and ending up in prison, ending up, with a psychological breakdown, and just losing everything, and not in a good way, in a bad way. Sometimes we need to lose everything to blossom. That's fine. I went through it myself, but we're talking about losing everything and staying there, and just creating more harm for ourselves and for those around us. So, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to these type of spell books dealing with entities. Just stay away from them. It's not going to do any good. I doubt, unless you're a prodigy and you were born remembering your lifetimes of practice, you're not going to know what to do. Stay away from it. Stay away from the dark stuff. Now, we've only got about 4 minutes on this particular segment. So in the next segment, I am going to be sharing with you how to actually do magic. And I'm going to do safe magic. I'm not going to share anything that's too dangerous for the public, even though I'm sure many of our listeners are already practitioners in their own right. But I'm going to share with you a little bit about sigils and talismans. I'm going to share a little bit about creating a magical ritual and how to formulate a spell, creating a sigil, things of that nature after the break. As we are coming up, waiting on the break, let me share with you a little bit about our shows coming up this particular month. We have Betsy Lewis wow, it's the end of the month. What am I saying? Betsy Lewis is coming back on the show. She's a fantastic author, and she has a new book. Forgive me if I'm wrong, Betsy. I believe it's on Sacred Earth Places, which we were just talking about on today's show. And then again, on March 3rd, we're going to have a wonderful talk with Chris Jones, who's going to talk again about expanding consciousness. He's written a book on his experience of awakening and what it's like. So that's going to be very, very good as well. Those of you that are here in the Roanoke Valley, you can hear this class or watch this particular class live. I will be taking questions at the Earth Spirit group this Thursday at 7 p.m. I will be doing this particular class live at the Roanoke Diversity Center, so you can come see me. It's free. I don't charge for any of this. Maybe I should. I don't know. But no. We'll be doing it live as well. Please go ahead and check out the Global Illumination Council. I'm really proud of the work that we've been doing. I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the talk here about how people were telling me not to share this information, from the satanic panic people to the, the people in the brotherhoods and witches, and no, you can't share this information. You can't share. Well, that's why I built the Global Illumination Council. I felt it was very important that we do have this type of esoteric knowledge right alongside the information of how our planet is being run, how the economy is being run, everything from the Federal Reserve to the Council on Foreign Relations, and how they are manipulating us through their own, whether it be occult practices or just practices of greed and low vibration. I felt that the esoteric practice for the good of humanity needed to go out alongside that. So that's why you go on our Facebook page, you'll see a post on, how to start a revolution to how to expand your third eye and open your pineal gland, so to speak. So it really does go hand in hand, and that's why I'm so happy of the work that we're doing. We did just open our platform. We're not quite done with it yet, but it is a brand new platform. It's absolutely beautiful. I'd love for you to go check it out. It's at thegic.org. Even better, become a member. We do offer premium pages to our members. I think the membership starts at $1.95 a month. That's how we pay for our costs to run everything. Just like Revolution Radio, we rely on this show, and the GIC does rely on the public. So you can become a member for as little as $1.95 a month, and that'll open you up to classes and videos and all types of things that are normally locked away. But we're very proud of the work that we're doing, and we are very proud to be here on Revolution Radio and be a part of this family as well. We're all striving to make the world a better place, whatever our angle. And I mean that like our perception, wherever we're coming from. Yeah, of course we all have an angle. We have things that we're passionate about, and mine is consciousness. Mine is empowering humanity through using the tools that are being used against us. These tools I'm sharing today, that's what's already being used against us. So why not take them back? Why not have them be a part of our arsenal? We're definitely never going to win against their missiles and whatnot. I don't believe in violence anyway, but I do believe that we can change the planet with using consciousness. And what I'd like to leave you with today, since this is the last part of today's broadcast, I'd like to share with you a few simple techniques for you to get started, or to get you on the road to creating your own magic or your own spells or whatnot. I did cover the witch's pyramid, which I think is a great way if you're going to formulate a particular magical ritual that you would like to do. But we're going to simplify it a little bit here in the end, this last part. So let's talk a little bit about the types of magic there are, or spells that there are. I guess I should say the type of spells there are out there. And of course, the most popular is candle magic, using a candle to help you focus, using a candle to charge your energy into that particular candle, what it is you're trying to create, utilizing color and whatnot. And that's very, very simple and very easy to do. And again, this is just quick overviews. You can always go on the internet and find more information on this. But for me, when I do, if I am going to do candle magic, a great example is I will usually use candle magic to cleanse my home. If let's say, and it's been a long time, I must be doing some great cleansing, but let's say you had an argument with friends or your lover or your husband or your wife or your children, and the energy is a little bit off, and you want to cleanse your home. A great thing to do is to just grab a white candle and hold it in your left and right hand. Just wrap your hands around it and just think of harmony, think of peace, and visualize the energy in the rooms just like clearing and being harmonious and happy. and just light the candle and let it burn out. Well, it's a very simple candle magic, and you can utilize that formula for anything. You can use green to attract money. You can use red to help with health issues, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, please go online or read a book that will help you find the attributions of specific colors and whatnot. Another one, which is very popular, and I use this myself, is the phases of the moon. The moon waxes and wanes. If you want to build something in your life, let's say you want to build a new business, you would want to do it when the moon is getting ready to build, as it's getting bigger. Many people see, those of us who practice paganism, see the moon, the full moon, in three stages: the maiden moon, the mother moon, and the crone moon. So you might want to do it on the first night of the full moon. Remember, the moon is getting fuller and fuller, and then the apex, it'll be full, and then the moment it's full, it will start to get smaller again. So let's say you want to do something to grow your business, you might want to choose, the first night of the full moon. You can also, as well, use the new moon, where it's completely black, and you can extend that, that growing energy to help, build that new business. So the moon is one thing that you can use. The other thing that I like to use as well is the seasons. Let's say you have long-term goals that you would like to bring into your life, or whatnot, or it's just a project that is going to take 6 months or a year. You might want to use the cycles of the sun. Again, using the winter solstice as that time, the birth of light, and doing your quote unquote spell or ritual on the time of the returning light, the winter solstice on the 21st or the 22nd, to see the expansion of your project getting larger and larger throughout the year till the summer, when it's at its apex during the summer solstice. Some people as well will use crystals. There are specific energies attributed to different crystals, and you can, of course, utilize the crystal with the candle, with the moon, with the sun. All of these attributions and alignments can all be interchanged and work with one another. So with crystals, I use quartz for clearing. For psychicism, I'll use, if I'm meditating and I want to expand my consciousness, I'll use amethyst. If I want to have more love in my life, I might walk around with a rose quartz in my pocket. If I'm too anxious, if I'm fearful, or if I'm just getting too caught up in my thoughts, I'll use, oh geez, what's my favorite one? I want to say hermaphrodite. It's not hematite. Sorry, hematite is great for grounding if you're anxious or anything like that. I love those hematite rings. I don't know if any of you see that when you go to like a metaphysical store. Those hematite rings are amazing because they break when they're done. Once you are grounded and you are where you need to be, that ring literally will break off your finger. It's amazing. So check that out. Hematite rings are really good if you're very anxious and whatnot. So that's dealing with crystals. Of course, there are herbs that can be used. Every herb has a specific energy and wavelength. And I guess the most important thing, and why I'm sharing these types, and we're going to go into sigils and talismans in a minute, but why I'm sharing, crystals and candles and the seasons and the moons, is to hopefully help you to expand your awareness of magic all around you. I do a class, and I don't know if I did it here. I don't think I've done it on the show yet, called The Magical Mind. And to be able to see that magic is around us all the time, that there is magic happening around us all the time, and being aware of that really makes for proficient spell work and magical work as well. So being aware of the seasons, noticing how the bud, opens, how the flower bud opens, noticing, how the birds fly in this beautiful pattern, seeing where the river, staring at the river and seeing how it flows and seeing the patterns of the water. Uh, all of that is about magical thinking and being aware of the natural forces as well as the universe, understanding and I'm not saying believing in horoscopes or anything like that, but seeing the cycles of the astrological symbols and what they mean and how they correspond to the different seasons and the energy. A good example is what is it? Aquarius is coming up, and that'll be the rainy season that brings back the flowers. And when Aquarius comes over, when the sun is in Aquarius, that's when we get the rainy season, et cetera, et cetera. So understanding all the correspondences of our universe is also important, and it does create a more global or universal perspective and a universal consciousness versus our egoic, self-identifying. Everything's about me, 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 me. No, we are a part of this big, beautiful universe, and it will help you with understanding your will and allowing your will to align with the work that you're doing, the spells that you're creating, or the magic that you're doing. So that's also very important to having that magical outlook on life. There is cause and effect. And, you know, some people might be thinking, well, he's sounding a little bit superstitious or whatnot. Quite honestly, I said it earlier before, I'm probably the most atheistic practitioner out there. I need to understand that everything has a cause and effect. And we're seeing it more and more in quantum physics and a lot of this alternative science that's happening, where sound is now creating patterns, and we're hearing, someone literally did an experiment to hear the plants singing, so it's more and more becoming science, and I call it the art of magic and spellcasting, because I don't want to go into the whole, golden dawn formula mathematics stuff ever again, quite honestly. That's kind of the science of it, but I believe the art is more intuitive. And I forgot who said it. It might have been Aleister Crowley who said that magic is science that has not yet been discovered. And it seems to be truer and truer with every passing day. We are learning more and more about our intentions and our perceptions and how that manifests our reality, and uh, how vibrations really do change the world around us, and how our thoughts are literally changing the world around us. We're seeing more and more of that every day. So having that magical way of thinking is going to be very helpful when it comes to this type of work, whether it be creating a spell or practicing magic or whatnot. How does one do magic? Well, you don't do magic. Magic is. I do magical rituals. I do spells. I do intentions. For me, if I were going to say how does one do magic, I would say how does one do a magical ritual. I would probably utilize creating a safe space, a sacred space. I would utilize bringing in all the symbolism that I wanted to manifest. If we're doing, healing, bring in lots of red colors. Um, at least for me, healing is associated with red. It depends on if you're associated with it. Remember, symbolism has to align with you as well. And I know that a lot of the darker brotherhoods have really screwed up a lot of the symbolism. A great example is the pentagram and the pyramid and the swastika and the eye and whatnot. They've hijacked it. They've put bad, Baphomet is supposed to be a symbol of balance and equality, and they've turned it into like Satan. So remember, the symbolism has to work for you. Don't force yourself to use symbols just because it's in a book. As a matter of fact, I believe we need to create our own symbols, create new symbols. But if I were going to do a magical ritual, I would create safe space. I would bring in all the things that symbolize what it is my intention is going to be wrapped around, and take it from there. And what I mean take it from there is to do the spell. And for me, there is a certain formula to do a spell. Yes, that magical ritual, all of those things are to alter the state of consciousness that I am in. But the spell work itself is going to be visualization. And let me give you a quick exercise you can do to help you with visualization, because visualization truly is key. It truly is key in spell work and magic and in intention setting. So let me give you a quick exercise. Then when you're done listening to this or whatnot, go ahead and go in the kitchen and grab an apple and put the apple in front of you. Within, close, within 2 feet. You don't want to have to strain your eyes, whatever. Put an apple in front of you and begin to stare at the apple. Stare at the apple, look how it's shiny, look how there's light reflecting off of it, look how bright the color is or how not bright the color is, depending on what color apple you have. Begin to visualize the back side of the apple. Begin to visualize the bottom of the apple that's touching the table or wherever you've placed the apple, and keep looking at it. Keep staring at it. Don't lose the focus of it. Keep staring at the apple, and get a full 3D picture as you're staring at it. Then close your eyes and take the apple away, put it down on the floor or something next to you, and then open your eyes looking at the very place you have the apple there and see the apple in your mind's eye. See the brightness of the color, see the reflection of the light, visualize the backside of what the apple looks like, visualize where the apple is touching the table or wherever you put it. But seeing it with your eyes open in your mind's eye, visualize that apple there. And hold on to that for a few moments. And then I would suggest to repeat the exercise probably 2 more times. But that will start enhancing your visualization ability. And I really feel that visualization is a big part of doing this type of work. A lot of people can't visualize. I know it's very difficult for some people. Some people are great with feeling. Some people are great with sound. If that's the case, then see the apple and then visualize the sound that was around, or visualize, what you were smelling. Smell the apple. But utilize whatever sense works for you. But if you can visualize, I think that would probably be the most helpful. So, now that I've given you that exercise, let's talk about doing the spell. So, we know what we want. We've learned, or we understand our will. We understand what's best for us and everyone involved. We are not going to harm anybody. We are not going to harm ourselves. We are open to the universe presenting us with the best available alignment for what it is that we're trying to bring into our lives. So now that we know, we're going to begin to visualize what it is that we want to create in our lives. We're going to visualize it. Example, you want a new job. Visualize yourself at your new desk, at your new easel if you're an artist, at your new construction site if you're into construction. Whatever it is that job is, see yourself there. Visualize yourself there. Smell the air, hear the noises, hear the chatter in the background if there is any other people, but create as much of a thorough picture. And again, going into detail, yes, in the visualization process, go into detail as much as you can, seeing what's above you, what's below you, what's to the left of you, what's to the right of you, and just keep focusing on that and visualizing, and then saying the words that you have written, whether it be a chant or an incantation, or even just a sentence. I love my new job. I love my new job. Just keep saying that over and over and over again while you're visualizing it, and keep raising the energy, doing it faster and faster, faster and faster, saying it faster while you're holding on to that visualization. And then once you're ready and you feel you've raised that energy and that vibration as high as you can, just release it. And the common thing to say is, as I will it, so mote it be. I usually just say, so be it. It is done for the highest good of all, for the highest good of everyone involved. As the universe so will it, so do I. So just visualize it, let it go, and it's done. You're done. But again, knowing what you want, visualizing it, saying the words, putting it out there, releasing it, and letting it be done as is best for you and the will of everyone involved, the highest will and the highest good of all involved. That would be a magical ritual / spell. A simple spell, it would be a sigil. I love sigils. Actually, when I was a kid, I was doing sigils before I even knew what they were. Maybe I did remember something from my past life. Sigils are awesome. We see them all the time. We see them all the time, and they're used against society constantly. Sigils are logos. Sigils is the Nike stripe. Sigils is the all-seeing eye for that bank. The sigils are everywhere. They're everywhere, and they have a lot of power and they have a lot of meaning behind them. But you can write your own sigil. And I remember as a child writing things that I wanted, like I wanted a new bike or something like that. Just writing the word writing the letters BIKE all on top of each other and putting a circle and a heart in it and just walking around with that. You can do the same thing. So I just said it, a very simple way to create a sigil. A very simple way to create a sigil. Let's say it is. Let's say we're grown-ups, we need a car, right? Your car's breaking down or you don't have a car or, you need, but you're in a place to have a car. Remember, it has to align with your will. You have to be in that place where you can make the payments or you can pay for the insurance and pay for the maintenance of it. If you have zero income and you want a new car, the reality of it is, unless you win it in the lottery or something like that, it's not going to happen. But let's just say that you are in a place where you can either buy a new car or get a cheap car or pay for the insurance regularly, and you want a new car. You're just ready for that new car to come to you. Go ahead and just write the letter C, and then write the letter A over the C, write the letter R over the A, put a circle around it, and draw a heart or something, a pentagram, whatever works for you, and fold that piece of paper up and keep it with you. Keep it in your pocket. Keep it in your glove compartment of your car that's dying, and you'll find somehow, some way, that friend of a friend is going to call you and let you know. I just got a new car. I'm getting ready to get rid of mine. I'm selling it for $500. Meanwhile, it's like a $3,000 car. Something like that will happen. That's just the way it works. That's just the way it works. You're open to it. It's not going to be exactly the way you want, but somehow it finds its way back to you. So you can draw a sigil like that. The other thing you can do is you can create a talisman. And we're running out of time, so I'm just going to say a talisman could be something as simple as a rock, something that makes you feel happy. Do you have a lucky pair of socks? Do you have a lucky necklace or something like that? That can become a talisman. And it's got energy and it's got a kind of a good luck charm feeling to it. But you can actually create one intentionally. And maybe I should do a workshop on that sometime online. But we are unfortunately out of time. But let me close with this. As with all the information that I put out there today, let me just say this, is that magic and spellcasting is much easier than you think. It's always around you. It's already within you. Know that. You don't need to look outside. It's within you. Have a wonderful week, everyone. We love you. Bye.